Now, the start of a new year could be a chaotic cocktail of emotions. I began this year with a lesson that I learned from a very unlikely source, and I'd like to share it with you. A very happy new year to you, and my prayer for you is that 2026 will be much better, more successful and prosperous than 2025 ever was. I began this year with a lesson that I learned from a very unlikely source, and I'd like to share it with you. My kids and I have been fascinated with my neighbor's black and white cat, let's call him Tabby. Ever since he was a very little kitten, we loved watching Tabby. He was a very fascinating cat too. You know how cats could be very excitable, adventurous, playful. We watched him get into all sorts of trouble, sticking his head into places that he found it difficult to bring himself out of. We saw him try to take on seagulls that were twice his size, and we're wondering, what on earth were you thinking? And it was just a joy to watch every time. However, on the first day of this year, I was in my living room, pacing with my coffee in hand, like I usually like to do when I'm thinking, praying, and meditating. And as I looked out my balcony window, I saw Tabby in a different light than I have ever seen him before. Gone was the playful kitten, gone was the lazy adult. He was moving stealthily, creeping low to the ground with purpose, very slowly, very stealthily. And I wondered what he was doing, and as I followed his line of sight, I saw that he was going for the fence, and right on top of the fence there was a squirrel sat. And as he got to the bottom of the fence, he crouched low, like he was about to leap and bring that squirrel down. You could see that the hunter in him was alive that morning. The surprising thing was that the squirrel did not even make an attempt to escape. It did not make an attempt to run for its life. It did not die. It was just sat there unmoved, in fact almost bored looking. And I wondered what the end of this thing was going to be, and as Tabby crouched low, ready to pounce, I waited and waited. He never pounced. But more interestingly, the squirrel never ran either. And they just sat there in a stalemate, looking at each other. And at some point, it looked like the squirrel just got bored, turned, and scampered off into the trees close by. Now, the start of a new year could be a chaotic cocktail of emotions, ranging from excitement at the newness of the year, fear of the challenges and possibilities of failure that may lie ahead of you, or it could be sadness and depression emanating from the failures and disappointments of the previous year. But one thing is sure for everybody, that when the fireworks are over, when the food is finished, and the friends are long gone, everyone is left with the question, how is this year going to unfold? Enter New Year resolutions. Now, as a pastor and someone who just generally loves to talk to people, I've had quite a few conversations around the topic of New Year resolutions. And the general vibe I found these days is that people just cannot be bothered. It looks like people just don't care, nobody wants to try again. And the reason is not far-fetched. Year after year after year, we make resolutions. We decide we want to get physically healthier this year. We want to lose that weight. We want to be better in our relationships with our family members. We want to handle money better. We want to be more disciplined with our time. We want to start a new course. We want to learn a new instrument. We want to learn a new language. And we begin in January with zest and zeal. Maybe it's just in an attempt to overcome the winter blues. But it seems like once January is past, February, maybe March, momentum begins to fizzle out. Drive begins to die. And before the middle of the year, all the resolutions out the window, and usually leads to disappointment in yourself, sadness, depression. And maybe we become like Tabby, who probably out of experience, he probably had tried jumping that fence a couple of times, maybe to catch a squirrel or a butterfly or whatever it was. And he had learnt from experience that he couldn't get past a certain height. And so he didn't even bother on that morning when I was watching him. And I sense that many of us might be like that. If that's you, feeling beat, feeling discouraged, feeling like there's no point making any resolutions because you cannot even keep them up, you are in very good company, because I think it's time to try something else. You might have tried self-motivation, you might have tried depending on friends, you might have tried changing your circle and it has not worked. Maybe it's time for you to try God. Now, I'm not talking about religiously going to church and repeating spiritual statements and trying to follow a ritual. I'm talking about a soul level seeking, a thoughtful, deliberate and intentional search to find out, is there really someone bigger than me who I can rely on, who I can depend on and turn to when my strength is gone? Is there really some power that is available greater than my own abilities, greater than my own attempts? So I'm talking about looking at the evidence, weighing it, and exploring and giving yourself time to arrive at a reasonable conclusion for yourself. One of two things is likely to happen if you do this. You might conclude that God doesn't exist, or that even if He does, He doesn't make any meaningful difference in your life. Or you may discover something far more beautiful, a place of refuge, rest, and confidence in the arms of a loving and forgiving Father. A God who helps you sit on your perch in life like that squirrel, while life's challenges crouch below, threatening to pounce, but are never able to bring you down. I urge you in 2026, try God and see if He will not make a difference. God bless you, and once again, Happy New Year.